Hi, I'm Arizona lawyer Julia Benz. Welcome to the Family Law Wake Up Call. We are back for part 2 of my interview with the author of The Last Single Mother, Annica. You are with us live from Luxembourg. I'm so excited to have you. And I'll be honest with you, I'm having a little trouble pronouncing your last name. Can you help me with that?
Yeah, okay, so no one outside of Sweden has ever succeeded to pronounce it the way it's supposed to be. It's actually the name of a small village where my grandfather came from, so he took that name, and it's pronounced in Swedish, you say Torneryd. Törne is thorn, like the thing on a rose, and Ryd is a little hill. So I guess a little hill where the thorn grows, that's the village he came from. So Annica Torneryd.
All right, so I'll probably just stick with Annica.
Yeah.
But that's a beautiful last name, and I wish I had some sort of explanation for where mine came from like that.
Yours is cool.
But we are back for part 2 of my interview with you, and we ended part 1 with kind of getting into the surface of your breakdown. And this was not just a minor, oh, hey, I need to sleep a little more tomorrow, I feel a little under the weather. I mean, this was, you had no choice. You had to stop working. You had to lay in bed until your body allowed you to basically get back into the normal schedule of things. And that would be extremely difficult for somebody who, as you kind of chronicled in the first part of this interview, was trying to fit so much in to every single moment of every day. So the added stress of knowing that you can't do those things and you have to just lay there must have been transformative, because at some point you had to let go. So Annica, tell us about what that was like when you had to acknowledge that you had to slow down.
Well, I would never have acknowledged that. Personally, I would never agree to slowing down. So what happened was that I mean, for 3 years I lived with burnout. The doctor said, you need to pay attention because this can end bad. And I was like, I don't have a choice. I have 3 children and I have to support my family. So I'm just gonna keep on going. But that day came when I had my first ever panic attack. And I am so ashamed to admit this every time I do it, but I thought that's something that happens to weak, silly women. But so a panic attack is brutal, and there's nothing you can do, no matter how strong your mindset or your will is, your body shuts down. So I hyperventilated until I passed out. And from that day, I had the only thing I did, and I still don't know how I did it. It was dangerous, but I drove my children to school. I went home, and I never made it to my bed actually, because to go to my bed, you have to get up the stairs. So some days I just got in, shut the door, and I slept on the tile. Some days I made it to the sofa, but it was extreme. I could not go and take a shower. So I was in my pajamas, like yoga pants and a cap, because I couldn't show my greasy hair for weeks and weeks. It was, so I realized, okay, when I can be awake again, I need to change. Some of the ingredients in my situation have to change, or this will be a forever lasting situation. And what can I change? I can only change myself so much. I have 3 children. I am not going to sell them on eBay, even if, I mean, you know, there were moments where maybe that sounded like a great idea, sell them off with full, you know, clothes and everything. But so, and I said, my job, no, I can't change that because I have a good job and it's my security. So I felt really stuck. And then I read a book. It's called Choosing Yourself. And when I read that, I asked myself the question, so what if, let's just pretend, what if I could pick any job I wanted? Any job. What would I love to do for the rest of my life? And I was like, that's easy. I would love to work with people, helping people overcome obstacles, be their best, do their best. It's, I mean, competing or delivering your best, being your best is my natural state of being. And not saying I'm always succeeding, but I love that challenge. So I thought, okay, so what if again I could do that and make money? And I was like, oh, my life would be so nice, because that the stress added, I mean, you have the stress of being a single mother, 3 babies instead of 1, being in a foreign country, not having any family support, not having any financial support, going through custody, having to go to court, you don't understand, it's not your language, it's not your first, second, it's your third or fourth language. There was so much stress going on. So when I first saw this vision of me changing jobs, that's the first time I felt that, okay, there is a possibility that things can be better. So that's how that's when the real change towards a positive health and state of mind started.
And how long were you basically in bed for the majority of the day? How long was that process until you really hit recovery?
Yeah, the sleep thing, that it was impossible for me to be awake, that lasted a little over 6 weeks, and I did nothing. So I remember the day when I woke up and I knew instantly that, okay, I'm not going to fall asleep right away. And then I was like, can I read something? So I started reading, I started studying on chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, all the things. I wanted to understand what I was going through, to know, I just wanted to know, and then I wanted to learn how can I support my body and my system to recover. So I read, I Googled, and then I read a page, and then I slept some more. So that's how the recovery started, by studying, and that's what I learned. I've put parts of that in the book, understanding cortisol, serotonin, what you need, and physical needs.
And I definitely encourage anyone out there who's identifying with some of these symptoms, some of these ways of coping and, burning the candle at both ends. And I encourage them to read your book to get the real in-depth overview and instruction and tips. But, Annica, what would you say to any single moms or single dads out there who maybe just had their first panic attack, who maybe feel one coming? What would you say to them at this stage? Because you just noted how you ignored the signs and just said, no, that's a weakness, I'm going to keep going. Or maybe you said, that really doesn't mean anything, I'm fine. What would you say to somebody in that same situation?
Well, I'm thinking, should I say this or not? Because I'm not sure I would have listened to this advice. But honestly, yeah, so I'm going to say this advice I could take. By resisting and trying to be strong and pushing away the pain and the fear and the stress and the loneliness, and just keep on going because you think you have to be a good girl and a good mom and everything, a good citizen. By doing that, you're actually, it's like you're self-rejecting yourself, you're being bad to yourself, you're not being nice to yourself at all, and it's not going to help. It's not going to help you be a good mother. It's not going to help you get a strong health. It's not going to help you overcome stress or a broken heart or whatever it is. So I would say accept that it is hard. Just accept that, okay, this is really not nice. This is so tough. And then confide in a friend, talk to someone you really trust so that you never have the feeling that you're whining. Because if you're like me and you want to be strong, you want to be able to do it on your own. I can do it on my own. If you have a really good friend that you can trust, it's not whining, it's sharing what you're going through. Sometimes you can share great things, but at this moment, maybe you can share what's not so great. And maybe just the simple fact that you share it, then you let go of it a little bit. And every time you share, and maybe open up to the idea of getting help, asking a friend or a neighbor to, little things like, oh, are you going shopping? Would you mind getting me some milk? And that stress is gone. And then they know that, oh yeah, maybe I can help her next time. And then they come and say, I'm going to get some food. Do you need anything? Yes, please get me some apples, Because when you're always in that mode of, I'm going to do it on my own, and I'm not going to disturb anyone else with my shit or my drama, you just add stress that I'm an expert in this. So I would say accept that it's hard and open up to letting yourself get some help, and let people that you trust invite them to help you if they can and want to.
Now, Annica, have you been successful at avoiding a second burnout?
Yes.
So you've been able to incorporate some new strategies and approach to parenting that
yes,
help you?
Yes, and I've promised for myself and my children to never get to that place again. And by saying I've made that promise, it means that I'm going to do everything that I know I need to do, which includes being nicer to myself, not putting so much pressure, getting help from people who can help me, even investing in certain things that I don't know how to do it, but someone else knows, going to bed earlier, like basic needs, and not always, okay, I'm just going to do this as well. And then you get to bed 40 minutes later every evening, instead of just saying, no, I'm going to take care of myself. So I try to apply that really hard. And yes, I intend to be very successful.
And Annica, in your book, you talk quite a bit about the social pressure to be a perfect parent. And I hear this from many women in my life who are parents of generally children under 10, and they just really feel this pressure to make sure their kids have, the best possible childhood they can have, and everything's perfect. And have you been able to release some of that need to be the perfect parent?
Yes.
And I imagine that's been a key to avoiding another burnout.
Yes, and trust you me, I could not have made this change had it not been for my burnout. So in a way, I'm grateful for it, because it's not nice always trying to be perfect. It's so tiring. And what do you get out of it? Nothing, really. And
I hear a lot of women say, I wish I would have relaxed and just enjoy the time more, instead of feeling like the dishes always had to be done right on time, and the child's room had to be perfect, and all of those things that in retrospect I think, that really wasn't that important.
Yeah. So, now if you would come into my house, okay, now it's a little bit too extreme, but you would definitely wonder, Annica, did you have a hurricane go through your house? And no, I didn't, but we do parkour. My boys do parkour, and we dress up. I am taking part in it. So,
and what is that?
Sorry?
Parkour, what's that?
That's like when you jump over things and you throw yourself in the air and you roll around, and they do it. I film, okay? But so the interviews I did for my book, there was one particular mother who made a huge impact on me, because her children were now 20, 21, and she said, I so much regret that I always tried so hard to be a perfect mother. I had all these rules, like you have to do the laundry, you have to cook that food, and we have to do that, and you have to. And she says, I so much regret that I didn't just stop one day and say, let's go out and watch the cows, or let's bake a cake on a Tuesday and just sit and eat the cake and talk. And I mean, I remember when she said it, I tried to hide that I was crying, and even saying it now is very emotional because I felt, thank you. Because she said it, all of a sudden, it became okay for me to do that. So I think for a while I exaggerated the baking cake thing. It's like Tuesday, Wednesday, let's do it again on Thursday. But definitely becoming more present and not so perfect, less perfect, more present is fantastic. I mean, it's so hard if you're a perfectionist, a competitive, control freak, woman, mother. That is one big challenge. But if you just try it once, that's extreme thunder going on. So it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And the best thing for me as a person and as a mother was that going from a state of extreme stressfulness, being irritated, being in a bad mood, snapping at my children because I had to do that and that and that. And then sitting and enjoying a cake, watching the cow. This is so much nicer. So by just trying it once, it was so easy to just accept and do it. So yeah, I started by changing from not going into the laundry room every night. I decided I'm going to go in there on Tuesday and on Thursday. For the rest of it, I'm just going to throw the dirty stuff in there and close the door. So obviously that freed up a lot of time, and that constant, I have to do this, I have to do that, and yeah.
Now, Annica, when you were taking custody of your children, you had to go through a legal process in Luxembourg.
Yeah.
And I think the listeners to this interview will have gathered that, you're a really accomplished woman, very capable, really smart, but you still found the legal system challenging. I mean, not only is it a new process, there's the laws, there's the procedure, there's the courts, it's intimidating, but there's also all these emotions that you're dealing with. And I think your children were still, 1 and under at this time, so your body's still going through a lot of hormonal changes after having 3 children in a year. And kind of tell me from your perspective, looking back, what that was like and what you may have done differently.
Oh my God, I get goosebumps. Well, differently. I would have done everything differently. Seriously. I was scared. I was heartbroken. I was, for anyone who's been betrayed, not just a little betrayal, but the extreme betrayal, it's sort of, you cease to exist for a while before you can start living again. So and yes, I had 3 babies in 1 year, and I was breastfeeding 2 at the time, and also with the added ingredient that I was in a foreign country. Many people live far from home, there's not the family support. So I was alone, and legal stuff, I've never studied law. So that's a whole other language where even if it was in my mother tongue, it would just have been, what does that mean? Right. Yeah, I hear the words, but what does it mean in real life? What is it good for me or is it really bad for me? I had no idea. And so for me, if I could go back to that, what would I have done differently? Okay, so can I just add that I grew up in a family where we didn't have money. Mm-hmm. And that money mindset, now I'm over that. But at that point, I was stuck in, no, I don't want to pay for that because why would I pay more money now that I'm losing money? So I would just go, who is the best lawyer? Who has statistically defended most mothers or fathers, if you're a father, and who has won for them? That's what I would have done. And I would have contacted that person and say, can you please help me with my case? This is my situation, and this is what I want. How can you help me? That's what I would have done. So I didn't do that. I just trusted that a lawyer and court, what happens there? Well, I thought, well, you go in there and you say your name and what's happening, and justice will be done. That was one of the most brutal lessons I ever learned, that is not what happens. It's who best defends their case who wins. And my lawyer did not know anything about defending. Maybe had I been Luxembourgish, maybe would she have done differently? I don't know. But I had 3 babies. I was the sole provider because the father didn't have a job. There was all the ingredients that, I mean, I don't want to talk about these details for the sake of my children, but violence, everything was there. So at that point, he was not a good parent. So had it been in my country, I would have had sole custody, and the house would have been mine because it was thanks to my job at the European institutions that I got the bank loan. So I sort of went in really naively thinking that I guess this is gonna, or it's gonna be fine. So it was naive of me to not think that, you know, get protection, get help, get legal, get someone who can really defend you and pay for that and then have peace in your life. Because I added after the breakup, not just being alone and having to deal with motherhood and all that, but also the stress of losing that case. So I got shared custody, which means I can basically not do anything. I cannot leave this country. I could not go home to my family and be with them because he said no, he wouldn't sign any papers. Anything, any major decision now has to be decided by both parents. And the law, I afterwards read the paper, says that if there's a conflict between the parents, there should not be a co-parenting because it's not fruitful for the child. So had I had had I known, had I been more present and not so suffering in my heart, I wish I would have the thought to go get a lawyer who can fix this for you, but I didn't. So I paid a really, really big price for learning the lesson of how important it is to get a good partner.
And now you continue to co-parent under these court orders that came out. And I don't know if you've tried to change them at all, but that's a whole nother hurdle that a lot of people face, and why getting your papers right from the start can be really important. Now, regardless, you know, your kids are going to get older. There generally are. Things change, and you're going to need changes to the papers at some point. But if it's based around the kids and some of those simple things, then maybe you can reach an agreement with your co-parent. Maybe it's easier to get into court. But when you face that contested issue, you know, like if you wanted to return to your home country instead of staying in Luxembourg and take the kids with you, that is an expensive battle, that's a tough battle, and I think you're probably going, you know what, I'm stuck here. This is how it's gonna stay, and I think you've kind of just accepted that as the situation, and your kids are still young. So you're looking at this being the situation for a while unless something changes with Dad.
Yeah, I mean, at this point today, I mean, I'm going to say that it is 100% thanks to my book that today I can say that I'm at peace with my situation. Because when I wrote that book, I had 3 things I wanted to achieve. 1, I wanted to heal because I was totally broken. 2, I wanted to understand why I'd made the choices I did. And that is also done, I understood. And number 3, I wanted to be able to be happy and live in feel that I have a family and enjoy it and be the best, deliver the best motherhood, the parenting I can, in spite of whatever has happened. So thanks to the book, yes, I am stuck here, but I choose to look at it as I live here now and I provide for my children. I offer them the opportunity to grow up and become trilingual without even having to try, and they get to have now a functioning relationship with their father. So today, maybe things happen for a reason, but it has been brutal. It has been brutally hard to go through those years, and I am sad that I didn't know that, or why didn't someone just say to me, Annica, go get a great lawyer? I was just too tired, worn out, and broken to even think about that. For me, it was more of, getting food for the children, and, but yes.
And Annica, I think that you and I share an overlapping message. And what you just said about the struggles you faced in the court proceedings and wishing that you would have gotten a lawyer is what we're seeing is that certain decisions you made in your life led up to this point where you had a problem, in particular a legal problem that you needed a professional to help you solve. But you got to that point because you made certain decisions. And I focus on this a lot in my practice and with my clients is that you can make decisions or avoid certain decisions that can save you time, money, and stress through avoiding certain legal processes. And you too have shared that message, I mean not the same exact message, but a similar message in your book, which is to all women out there, especially young girls and women, to make better choices. To not be so influenced by friends, popular culture, media, the really focus on the sexualization of women and us being more objectified than being powerful and confident and making the right decisions. And, what's so fascinating about you, Annica, is you are that strong woman. I mean, kickboxing champion, high-level position in the European Parliament. I mean, such an inspiration. But sometimes when it comes to love, the reason just goes out the door. But what your message is you're saying, look, still make the right choices. If you're going to get mixed up with the wrong guy, protect yourself. Don't have a child with them. Use protection or just don't sleep together. It's some of those things where you're saying, step back, don't feel the pressure of society. And I love that message. And I imagine that you're getting a lot of positive feedback from that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember who I was speaking to, but we agreed that you can be so smart and educated and wise and, strong and powerful and perfect. And then you fall in love. And a decision you would have made like that, not being in love, it's like, there is no other way, this is the way. But when you're in love, it's like, it's like you become stupid. I mean, love is wonderful and all that, but I think that letting go and just being that is not perhaps a good thing if you care about your future and what's going to happen, which is then going to be your life. So enjoying love and falling in love by all means, but also staying conscious of, this is my life, this is my situation, this is my value or my zone. Is this compatible with me and what I want? Yes, then wow. No, then back off.
Now, Annica, if anybody listening, maybe any single mothers or fathers out there would like to speak with you, do you have any sort of coaching sessions or any way for people to connect with you and maybe gain some insight and assistance with the struggles of being a single parent, or maybe making that transition out of the 9-to-5 job into being an entrepreneur? Is that something that you can help people with?
Yes, absolutely. And anyone who wants to connect and talk about possibly working together or have questions, the best way to get in contact with me is through my website, which is www.acttoexceed.com, or email me at Annica, that's ANNICA, at acttoexceed.com.
And if somebody gets in touch with you, what can they expect how would they interact with you? Would it be through a Skype call and you do some coaching, or what sort of service do you offer?
Yeah, I work with I do coaching with female entrepreneurs. I love to work with mothers because mothers are the best. And we do one-on-one Skype coaching. And I usually do three sessions a month and work together for 3 to 6 months.
Now, what about, you've also helped people create a book, your brand new book. And so if anybody out there, is inspired by how you shared your story, and I know in this interview you talked about you encourage people to share their story because it's not only therapeutic, but it can help others. If somebody listening to this says, you know what, I want to share my story, what exactly is brand in a book? How does that work?
Yeah, so because when I published my first book, I very much enjoy writing, but when I self-published, I realized that I love that process. And I studied a lot of programs on how to self-publish. I had the wonderful opportunity to have a personal conversation with Reed Tracy, who is the CEO of Hay House Production, which is the largest self-help book published company in the world. So then I felt this is a nice thing. I want to help people get their message out, be it a brand or a business or a personal story that can inspire and help others. So so I founded Your Brand in a Book, where I then help speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs, or people who have a really strong story they want to get out so that they can turn that into a beautiful and inspiring book and help others.
And it's not any issue for you to work with people here in the United States, is that right?
No, that's actually my current clients. Most of them are in the United States.
All right, so I encourage people to definitely get in touch with Annica. She's a really amazing coach, mother, and entrepreneur. So Annica, I want to thank you so much for being here, not only because it was really fun to do this interview, but also because your daughter hurt herself today and you had to go to the emergency room. It's been a little bit stressful, but you still found time for me and this interview and for the audience, and I really appreciate that and honor you for that, so thank you.
Thank you. And I want to add that when I had my first conversation with you and realized how awesome you are at what you do, first of all, I was jealous because I wish I knew what you know, and then I was like, oh my God, that's when I understood. Oh my God, if I had someone like you come into my life at that time, I would have won.
Wow,
I know without a doubt that I would not have given those $30,000 under the table to get my house in my own name. I would have had most likely full custody. My children would have had also my name. So much stress and worry and irritation would have been a victory. And I'm not talking about a victory to crush your component, but to have peace in your soul. So, but still, to this day, you've given me advice that has helped me in an upcoming legal process. So you're awesome, Julie.
Well, sure, and I don't know if I'd call it advice, but we just kind of talked about some problem-solving strategies and things like that. There are many ways to approach a problem, and that's what I really enjoy with my clients, because often they come into my office and they've built these limitations and barriers around the situation just because they're not used to maybe looking at other options or knowing what options are available. So it's really fun to sit down and put together a strategy and a plan and then try to have success in a new way that the client didn't think was possible. So thank you so much for those kind words. And anybody who would like to set up a strategy session with me, feel free to go to julielevens.com. And thank you so much for tuning in to this video podcast episode of the Family Law Wake Up Call. And thank you so much, Annica. Please check out her book, The Last Single Mother. All right, thanks, Annica.
Thank you. Bye-bye.